February is over, so that means it's time for my February wrap-up and my March TBR. February was a pretty average month for me. I managed to finish 7 books. 7. 5 of these books were young adult novels and 2 were professional books that I'll share with you briefly, but are honestly probably not that interesting. But I'm really glad that I read them, so I'm putting them in this video. The first book I read in February was 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James, and I will be putting up a full review of this. Basically, I was reading it because it's a cultural phenomenon, and as a librarian and a feminist and a person who likes to participate in conversations, I read the book so I could see what's really going on instead of just giving my opinion without having read it. And I will say I did not like it. Mostly just because it's not very good. So I do have very complex feelings about the book that are not strictly just like pure hatred and like everyone should boycott this book and never read it, but they're also not like this is really great and I don't get what the problem is. So I'll try to articulate in a video later so that I can explain where I'm coming from with that and talk about some of the things I read here. The second book I read in February was far better. It was probably one of the best books I've read in a long time. It is Grasshopper Jungle by Andrew Smith. This is a crazy book. I mean, you can just tell by the cover, it's green and just looks different from everything else. It is the story of a grasshopper apocalypse. And they tell you, like, before you read this book that you really can't explain what it's about. You really just need to read it. But it has a lot of really interesting themes. It's while this whole, like, crazy grasshopper thing is going on and the world is basically coming to an end, our protagonist is worried about, like, who he's falling in love with and writing down history of things after the fact and his own sexuality and coming of age. And then it's like you slowly realize that the world is coming to an end while this is all happening. It may be a little bit too crazy for the average reader, but I really enjoyed it, so I'm going to recommend it to you. The third book that I finished in February was Scripted by Maya Rock. It's a dystopian novel set on an island that is a reality television show. So sort of like the Truman Show. There's just cameras everywhere and these people are on TV all the time. And the dystopian element is that if your ratings fall, then you get cut. And the question is, where do people go when they get cut? It just didn't click for me. It didn't blow me away in any way. And it wasn't even really a 4-star read. It ended up being a 3-star read for me. Oh, and I didn't know, like, I gave 50 Shades of Grey 2 stars and Grasshopper Jungle got 5 stars. So, forgot that I should probably be telling you the star ratings as I go along. The fourth book I finished, which I just finished today actually, is The Winter's Curse by Marie Rutkowski. So I couldn't get into it. I could only listen to it for 20 minutes at a time. But once I sat down and really, and maybe it's because the story picks up at the 50% mark, but it got a lot better. So I will be continuing on and reading the next in the series, though I did end up only giving this 4 stars because it just was so hard to get into. Maybe I should have read it in the hardcover, but can't change that now. And the last YA book I read is Famous in Love by Rebecca Searle. And this one had kind of the opposite problem of The Winter's Curse. It started out really good, and then it kind of started to bore me around the 50% mark. So it's the story of a girl whose name is Paige. They call her PG. She gets cast as the lead in her favorite dystopian novel that is being made into a film. So it's kind of every girl's dream. She's just an unknown girl from wherever she's from, Oregon, I guess. And she is in a story that has a love triangle. She's got the boy next door and the bad boy, who the actors kind of fill those roles and they become a love triangle outside of the movie. Overall, while this is a 4-star read for me, it was a little fluffy, it lost its way a little bit, but the author did try to break some of the romance contemporary novel stereotypes, and I really appreciated that. It also appears that just like there's a trilogy in the book that they're acting out and that they're reading, this book itself is probably part of a trilogy, so there will be more to come. And finally, I did read 2 books that are maybe not that much interesting to you guys, but I was very excited. They are English education books. You Gotta Be the Book by Jeffrey G. Wilhelm and Critical Encounters in High School English by Deborah Appelman. These are two pretty foundational texts if you're an English teacher. Really liked this one. It was about teaching literary theory to high school students and how you teach like feminist and Marxist and post-colonial theory to them. So very good reads also, though, you know, they're no Grasshopper Jungle, so, you know, grad school. And then looking forward to March, I do have a couple of books on my TBR pile. I've already started Cinder, like I said I would, and To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I had kind of gotten maybe 50 pages into this and had to pause for other things, but these two should definitely be done within the next week or two. And then I will be reading We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach, which I talked about in another video. And then I also plan to finally read The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I wanted to read The Goldfinch, but most of the people that I talked to about it said that I should start with Secret History. I've had it recommended to me over and over and over again. I bought the audiobook, so that is a 22-hour experience that I'm getting ready to go into, and I'm really ready to just do that. I think I'm in the right place, in the right mood to take on a bigger, longer, chunky novel, and so I'll let you know how that goes. So that is my February reading list, give or take a few novels, and my March TBR. And I hope that you share what you've read in February, what you want to read in March with me, because I love seeing what other people are reading. That's all for right now, and I'll see you next time. How do you do this? On the floor, like, I don't think I can see about that.